Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Sujin Gogu. I'm a physician and one of the co-founders of Doctors in Politics here today. And today we got a special guest here today. Our special guest today is Dr. Christine Mann, who's a family physician near Austin, Texas, and also ran in the 31st Congressional District in Texas and ran a great campaign there. And she's here to talk about, as we all know, we have two vaccines that are out there right now, Moderna and Pfizer. And she's going to talk about the vaccine, talk about COVID, and just give us an update on kind of everything that's going on and all the questions that people have. Feel free to drop in questions in your chat option. We want to make this as interactive as possible with people. And if you can't make this talk, by all means, please keep asking questions in the chat. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. But take it away, Dr. Mann. We're so fortunate to have you here today, okay?
Thank you so much, and I'm really glad to be here. Give me 1 second, because I am trying to connect to this live on my personal page so people can watch. And I'm just typing that in real quickly, and it should come up pretty fast here. So, but I'm really excited to be here because this vaccine and the information that we're getting about it is so amazing, and people are so ready to have some relief from this crazy time that we're living in. And I get questions all day, every day about the vaccine and about what we need to be doing with that. And so I'm really thrilled to be here to be able to tell you about it and answer people's questions. So I'm not going to do a huge intro. I'm going to tell you guys a couple of things, and then I'm going to go into the frequently asked questions that I'm getting. And if I miss something that you guys want to have an answer to, then you let me know. So what we know right now is that the government spent a lot of money to make sure that we could get vaccinated against this virus and, break the back of this pandemic. The government paid for millions of doses, about 90 million doses of vaccine, hoping to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And a lot of you have seen that those doses are being distributed, and you've probably seen on your Facebook page and other social media that people are getting vaccinated. So to jump right in, the most important question I think that people are asking is it safe? And the answer is unequivocally yes. The vaccine is safe. We have a load of evidence about its safety. It's been studied in tens of thousands of people. This isn't something where a few hundred people got tested and all of a sudden the vaccine was starting to be put out in the public. Tens of thousands of people have participated, and well over 60,000 have already gotten it in the United States. That's not to mention the distribution that has happened in other countries. So we 100% can trust it. It is safe. I want to talk a little bit about how it works. Let me grab something here. So I'm a Katie Porter type Democrat, and because of that, I like my whiteboard. And so I'm just going to draw you a little picture. So this is your virus. Woo! I can't do that backwards. Hang on. So this is a viral particle, and we've all heard that there are these spike proteins on it. So we're just going to be very basic, and we've got these spike proteins on it. And what the vaccine does is it sends a message to your body to make some of these spike proteins, just the protein, not the whole virus. The vaccine is called messenger RNA, and it sends the message, that's the M part of mRNA, it sends a message to your body to create these spike proteins. Your body then recognizes that those spike proteins don't belong there, and your body makes antibodies to cover up these little spike proteins. And when the spike proteins are covered up, the virus cannot enter your cells. It cannot replicate. It cannot make more of itself. So once your body is primed to recognize that spike protein and those antibodies have been made and are in your body, if you encounter the actual virus, the whole virus, your body will automatically start to make the antibodies against that spike protein, preventing the virus from entering your cells and making more of themselves and infecting you. And what's really cool about it is that message, that mRNA cannot become part of your cells. It's just a message. It's not an actual strand of anything. It cannot incorporate into your DNA, and it gets dissolved by your body after it does its job of telling the cells to make those spike proteins. That's how we know that this is safe. Tens of thousands of people have already gotten it, as I mentioned before, and these were in those phase 1, 2, and 3 trials that we've all heard about. And there have been absolutely no major adverse reactions to the vaccine. Just like every vaccine, some people are going to feel a little achy, a little sore. Their arm might bother them a little bit, but there have not been any major reactions. You probably heard about a couple of people who had allergic reactions to the vaccine. Those allergic reactions were easily taken care of. They were treated very quickly, very easily. People had no long-term adverse effects, and they were able to go home about 20 or 30 minutes after those treatments happened. And so because those adverse reactions happened, the allergic reactions, when you get your vaccine, they're going to have you wait for about 15 minutes to make sure you don't have an allergic reaction. And one thing I need people to understand about allergic reactions, especially the ones that are life-threatening, those occur within 15 to 20 minutes of you being exposed to whatever the chemical is, whatever the vaccine is. So you don't have to worry that 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, you're going to suddenly have an allergic life-threatening reaction. If you don't have it in that first 15 to 20 minutes, you're good. And if you do, we're going to treat you and make sure that you are okay. I have a lot of people ask, well, how can you be sure it's safe when it was developed so quickly? And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, our government and governments around the globe put millions, billions of dollars into vaccine development. This is one of those cases where the need was so great and the harm was so huge that governments invested to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies could safely start their trials without having to worry about whether or not the vaccine was going to be useful. And that's important because it costs millions of dollars to create vaccines. Now, I am pro-vaccine, but I am not a fan of pharmaceutical companies. So I don't want to misrepresent that I am defending pharmaceutical companies, but because we have for-profit medicine in the United States, pharmaceutical companies are not going to develop products that they don't think that they can at least break even on, if not make a profit. And so the government basically guaranteed that they would not be at risk of losing money if they put that time and effort into developing the vaccines. So we had huge investments of money. That's one of the reasons that it came about so quickly. Second is because we already had an idea about how coronaviruses work. This is a family of viruses that has existed. It is not completely new. The COVID-19 virus itself is brand new in humans, but the family of viruses has been around for a while. So there was a lot of basic science already done and already out there so that we could work and build on what we already knew. Another factor is that we already knew how to make mRNA vaccines. This type of vaccine has been worked on also for many years. So we had the background science again to be able to take what we knew about coronavirus and what we knew about mRNA vaccines and the money that the governments invested, and it made it so much easier to get that vaccine created and on the market very quickly. The other piece that has happened is with the Trump administration's Operation Warp Speed, the government also invested in infrastructure to distribute the vaccine. So they were creating manufacturing plants, they were creating transportation networks while the studies were going on, so that as soon as we found a vaccine that was safe, the facilities to be able to store it and distribute it were already ready to go. That is not usually what happens. Usually it's after a vaccine has been found to be safe, after the FDA approves it, then the manufacturing and distribution happens. But in this case, all of those things happened at the same time, which has allowed us to get those vaccines out to people in just a miraculous time frame. I've had a lot of people ask me about, is the vaccine FDA approved, and what's the difference between FDA approval and emergency use authorization? So these vaccines have been allowed to be given to the public under emergency use authorization, which is not the same thing as saying it's approved, but it's also not the same thing as saying nothing has been looked at closely. Emergency use authorization requires that the FDA, as well as other agencies, look very carefully at the data that is available to make sure that they are putting a product on the market that is safe. And I have been extremely reassured by the number of virologists, epidemiologists, and my colleagues across the country who have looked at this data and are so happy with it. It is very robust data. The numbers are incredible, and there is nothing to fear with this vaccine. It is safe and it is effective. It is not technically FDA approved yet, but it has been authorized under that emergency use authorization. To get to the approval level, it's just going to take a little bit more data. It's not like there's going to be this mountain of additional evidence. There was enough evidence to put it on the market now, and all the evidence that's come in since has been really, really robust. So please don't mistake the idea that it's not FDA approved as a problem. It is not a problem. The vaccine is safe. I get asked a lot about immunity. Will immunity last? And in addition to that, how is it different than immunity from just getting the virus itself? We do have some data that shows that immunity is lasting at least for several months. Remember, a lot of these studies were done back in the summer, and the people who were part of those studies are continuing to be involved in the studies, and their antibody levels continue to be measured. So we have seen very, very strong evidence that the antibody titers, the amount of antibody in the system, lasts for many, many months. We're at 6 months right now from those initial studies with no decline in the antibody levels. And the educated guess, the information coming out of the scientific community is that we expect immunity is going to last at least 2 years, if not longer, which may not sound like a lot, but you remember that the flu vaccine you have to get vaccinated for every year. And so 2 years is what we need right now to get us through this. And it's likely that the immunity lasts longer than 2 years. That's the short amount of time we think it lasts. We have seen other studies that show that antibody levels, if you get the virus itself, go away after a couple of months. Those antibody levels do not stay elevated in your system and don't necessarily prevent another infection with COVID-19. So everything that we're seeing right now shows that you get a much better immune system response that lasts longer if you get the vaccine versus getting the virus. And on top of that, you're not risking death by getting the virus. So the data is strongly in favor of getting the vaccine rather than just waiting to get the virus itself. So please get your vaccines. Right now, the viruses are 2 doses. You get one, and then you get another one about 21 days later. Some of the newer vaccines, as they come on the market, may change those numbers. There are at least 5 or 6 additional vaccines that are being studied right now to add to the doses that we have already available from Pfizer and Moderna. So we have more coming. We're going to use what we've got, but we're going to continue to develop additional vaccines. And The way to think about that is that because we had to do this so quickly, we do have vaccines that are working, but perhaps we develop one that works even better, that lasts longer. And that's part of the reason that we're continuing to do the research into additional vaccines. We don't know yet if we're going to need additional doses past the 2 doses. That's going to be something we're going to study over time. It may end up that this is like measles, where you get your 2 doses and you never need another vaccine. Or it may be like flu, where the virus mutates or the immunity wears off and you have to get a vaccine every year. We just don't have the answers to that yet, but that shouldn't stop you from getting this vaccine now. As we all know, almost 350,000 people in the United States have died from COVID-19, and we don't want you to be one of those people. Which brings me to the strain that everyone has been reading about in the UK, that there is a strain that shows some mutations that are problematic. And I want to be clear, I've had a number of people who said, well, the vaccine has mutated several times, and that's true. But there's only been a couple of mutations that have raised concerns about further spread and about protection under the vaccines that we've got. The scientists and immunologists and virologists who are looking at this mutation in the UK do not think that it's going to change the protection that the vaccine gives you. It still uses a spike protein to enter your cells, and that's what we've targeted with the vaccines, but we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But for right now, it looks like the current vaccines will protect you against the other strains that we are seeing that have mutated somewhat. But we'll have more information about that as time goes on. The last things I wanted to talk to you about, or the last couple of things, are you may have seen that the next group of people have been recommended by the CDC. We started with healthcare workers, and the next group is going to include adults who are 75 and greater, teachers, police officers, firefighters, prison workers, and then people who work like at the post office, people who are around the public a lot. So grocery store workers. These are the 1B group of people, and it's about 30 million people. The next group that's going to come up, recommended by the CDC, or group 1C, is about another 57 million people. And that includes people who are working in construction and finance. Maybe they're not in the public as much as our grocery store workers and our teachers are, but people who are in the public some. The last thing I want to tell you is that there's a little bit of bad news mixed in here with all of this. And I want everyone to be really clear about what is going to happen. It's going to take time to get all of the doses out to people. I want you to do the math with me for just a minute. If we were giving 1 million doses a day in the United States, and there's 330 million people in the United States, and we need somewhere around 280,000 people to be vaccinated to get to herd immunity. So 280 million people, if we're giving 1 million doses a day, is going to take 280 days, which is around 9 months. And then we have to give a second dose, which is around another 9 months. We hope that those numbers speed up, but right now, to just give you an example, I found this really great website. It's called ourworldindata.org, and it has a COVID vaccine page, and you can see how many doses have been given in your country. And as of yesterday, they haven't updated for today, 614,000 doses have been given in the United States, which is great. But it's less than that million a day, and that's after a week. So please, please, please stay safe, stay patient. When the vaccine is available for you, please go get it. Don't wait. Just go ahead and jump in the line and get that vaccine, and hopefully we'll be able to increase the number of doses that we're giving over and above what we've been giving right now. And with that, if there are any questions, Dr. Gogu, you were going to read those questions. If there's anything in the chat, just let me know what we've got.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. I don't see any questions here right now, Dr.
I'm having
Mann.
trouble hearing you again.
Oh, whoops. Do you hear me now?
No.
Oh no.
I'm going to click over to Doctors and Politics page and see if I can see any of them.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm not going to. Give me 1 second. Everyone's still watching. I'm so sorry about the technical glitch here.
No problem.
It's our world right now that technology is such a problem sometimes. Okay, almost there. Okay, and it looks like I'm not seeing any questions. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no questions right now. Do you hear me, Dr. Mann?
I can't hear you at all, but I think that there's no. Can you do this if there's no questions? No questions. Okay, perfect. All
so
right,
there's
well,
one. There's one
okay.
question. The question is, if you receive a Pfizer vaccine, do you have to get the second dose of Pfizer, or could you get the Moderna? That's the first question.
I'm going to see if I can hear you on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you on my computer.
Okay, the first question is, if you receive a Pfizer vaccine, do you have to get the second dose of Pfizer, or could you get the Moderna?
No, I can't.
Okay, well, I'll answer the question. You should stick with the company that you went with first. So if you went with Pfizer, you should stick with Pfizer for the second dose because that's what the study is based on. If you did get the Moderna vaccine, you should stick with getting the Moderna vaccine, the second dose of that. I can speak for myself. I got the Pfizer vaccine on Saturday. I got that on my left arm. I didn't feel any side effects, a little bit of bruising that was there. Not bruising, but a little bit of tenderness that was there. And I feel great. And so I'll be getting the second dose in about 21 days. So yeah. But if there's no other questions, we will log off. We'll log off, Christine. We'll log off.